Good day, YouTubers. In this video, we're going to be talking about Suppressor. Suppressor has been extensively used for a long times for a while. They started being used essentially by the military snipers, sharpshooters, and then eventually started being used by the sharpshooters, by the police forces, because they were capable of diminishing the flash, suppressing the sound, not silencing the explosion, is suppressing, diminishing, and also they cause less fatigue on the shooter. Another group that eventually was approved to use the suppressors were the hunters that extensively currently used for the varmint control. I'm talking about wild hogs, baboons in some countries, groundhogs, and many other game that needs to be hunted in a quiet manner. Also predators that you really don't want to be too close to predator animals, that they might hear you, spot you, and they'll come after you. A third group that extensively use the suppressors are the hunters, because in case you might be using a muzzle brake in the middle of a competition, you really don't want to be next to them because of the baffle strike that the muzzle brake is going to cause. Also, using a suppressor for competitor, it is well known that it's going to cause less fatigue, and it will actually improve their performance since they don't get so tired as compared to people not using a suppressor, and the comfort and the concussion and many other reasons. Finally, the other group that uses a suppressor extensively are those people that live in states where the suppressor and ownership it's been approved. In the United States, there are 42 states that approve the ownership of suppressors. Florida, where I am, is one of them. If you want to check, I would highly recommend you to go on SilencerCo website and then check on support to see where you will be if your state is among those included to own a suppressor. The legal aspect, to use a suppressor, you have to be over 18 years old. If you're gonna do a private transfer to you, have to be over 21. If you're gonna buy it from a licensed dealer, you have to submit your $200 fees for the bad feedback, pass the background check. Obviously, you have to be a resident, not only a citizen. As a resident, you can apply for your suppressor, and you will be, if you qualify, you will approve for it. Once you got your paperwork approved, you have to carry your paperwork everywhere you go, and you're carrying your suppressor. What I did, I make a copy of it. That's what I carry, and I keep the originals at home. The majority of the police officer and authorities are very flexible about it. Another thing, you are allowed to share your suppressor with people who are next to you in your gun range, but if you are using it in a private hunting area, suppressors are not allowed in the majority of the hunting wildlife management area by the government, since according to them, it doesn't make the hunting fair. The prey doesn't have the chance to escape the hunter. It's regulations. Finally, if you ever try about flying to other states where owning a suppressor is legally approved, I would highly recommend you to call the airline and the airport to ask them for the proper steps and procedure in order to travel accordingly and show your documentation before arriving over there with a suppressor. This is a federally regulated item. This is related to the Second Amendment, but they have the capacity to revoke your privilege. So for demonstrational purpose, I'm going to be using my SilencerCo. The model is the Omega 300, which is made in the city of West Valley City in the state of Utah. This is an American-made product. The SilencerCo Omega 300, it is the lightest, shortest, quietest, and fully automatic weapon rated suppressor. It is also fully welded, made out of titanium, and multi-caliber rated. It can be used from 5.56 to 43 for hunters, 300 blackout for people who like to do the hunt defense or any sport shooting, 6.5 Creedmoor competitors, 308 militaries and police SWAT, as much as up to the 300 Winchester Magnum for the people in Alaska hunting those elk, bear, big game. So Alaskans, you know what to get. The length is going to be 7.9 inches. The weight is going to be only 14 ounces. The colors that is currently available is going to be the black, white, gray, and flat dark earth for those who operate. The muzzle average when using on 5.56 is going to be 130.1 decibels. When using the 168 grain 308 is going to be 133.9 decibels. This is what you get in the box from SilencerCo. It's just a plain box, nothing out of the ordinary, but it's very simple and it works perfectly. This is a scheme of how the Omega 300 is going to look from the inside. This should be just a model and a serial number, something like that you guys. And inside is going to be this suppressor itself. What you see is going to be the ASR mount. It's going to be the tools. This is the multi-tool. This is one of you're going to be using for replacing the caps, either the anchor brake in the front. This is pretty much preferred by competitors because it's going to help also reducing recoil. It's going to work as a muzzle brake. On the back from the factory, you're going to receive with the direct thread to mount it over your barrel. Make sure you have the right thread. If you're going to be generally using it with for a 30 caliber, the thread should be the 5.8 by 24. If you're going to be using it for a 223 5.56, the thread should be the half by 28. The ASR mount, it is my favorite part. This is when it's going to allow you to use the same suppressor for all the weapons that I will have the receiving part, either a muzzle brake or a flash hider that will allow to the insertion. This is the locking ring. This is a very important part. Once you screw it in over, you just lock it. Go and rotating the ring on that direction, and before remover, you unlock it, and then you unscrew the suppressor. If you remove all this, all you're going to have is the warranty card, the case for transportation, and the manual. I'm not going to take time onto that. One of the considerations you should keep when using a suppressor, the first one is that all of them, they're going to move the point of impact regardless of advertisement. It is more noticeable when you're taking shots over 600 yards. That is going to be, you know, certain 0 point something mils depending on user, caliber, etc. It is due because of the muzzle velocity increase that they cause on all firearm. They will also add extra weight to your firearm system, and also they will interfere with your normal barrel whip. When you shoot, the regular has certain whip, but when you add a suppressor to your barrel, it's going to interfere the way your barrel sort of whips and moves. So it's going to affect your point of impact noticeably beyond the 600 yard muzzle. Then it will require maintenance. That's something some people don't like to deal with regularly. What I like to do on the suppressor pouch, I put a tape with the round count of how many shots has been shot through it, so it keeps me clear. I would recommend people to do a cleaning of your suppressor every 2,300, 500 rounds. It's up to your consideration. When you see video games or movies, your suppressor will never decrease the range of your weapons. And when you see the Arma 3 or those video games, they always make it look like will decrease your range or your capabilities. It actually does the complete opposite. It will increase your range, and it will also help buck the wind easily. It's not going to make your bullet go slower. It's the complete opposite. The noise, it is still very audible. It's still very loud. It's like a washing machine, an old one. You can still hear it like 1 block from your location when using regular ammunition. Yes, they do whisper, but for that you're going to have to use subsonic ammunition, which uses a different kind of powder. Ballistic performance, it is going to base and it's going to be changed drastically from when using supersonic ammunition versus subsonic ammunition, and even more when you will be switching ammunition within different rifles or barrels. And also if you want to play with different ballistic tables and give yourself a really hard time, please start switching subsonic and supersonic ammunition within different barrels, so you're going to have completely different ballistic tables of point of impact for all of them. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to talk about the installation. For demonstrational purposes, we're going to be using the ASR mount. This is the one that's going to allow you to mount it on all kind of firearms. For the Spanish version, I'm going to be using my Savage. You can check it out. In the front, we have the muzzle brake, but you can also, when you buy, you can request the flash hider. The muzzle brake, it's pretty much preferred for people who's going to be all the time using the suppressor on top. If you are a police or entry team or something, you know, that's going to be deflecting a lot of air on your team, they regularly tend to go for the flash hider unless they're going to be using the muzzle brake. What you just do is just insert it on the top. You make sure it's on the open position towards clockwise, rotated, and then you just screw it in. This is for the ASR mount till it reaches to the end. You do not have to over tighten this one, then you just lock the ring towards the locking position, and that's it. Once you finish, removal will be you unlock the ring and you unscrew your suppressor for the ASR mount. If you're going to be using the direct thread towards your barrel because you want to shorten extremely your suppressor, and you also want to remove the anchor brake onto the front because you're a hunter and you really want to cut on weight and length, then all you're going to have to do is just thread it over your barrel. Make sure it's the right thread for 30 or for 5.56 or whatever caliber you're going to be using, and then you thread it all the way to the back till you make sure it's fully threaded in, but do not over tighten it. That will get tighter with the heat, and remove it in and out. And that's it. That's all I have to share with you, friend. Thank you so much for your time, for following my channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you one more time, and God bless you all.